Some nights, loneliness is louder than any music or TV. On one cold November evening, a man walked into a quiet roadside cafe with nothing beside him but his own thoughts. He expected the same routine as always: a hot meal, a silent table, and an empty seat across from him. But before his coffee cooled, a stranger and her little boy would step in from the rain and ask a small favor that would change the shape of his life forever. It had started like any other evening. The Cedar Street Cafe sat just off the highway, its red neon sign buzzing in the dark. Inside, the lights were soft and yellow. Cracked booths, scarred tables, a radio low in the corner. The air smelled like coffee, grease, and fresh bread. In the back booth, under a crooked wall clock, Marcus Reed sat alone. Marcus was 42, a tall black man with tired eyes and a short, gray-flecked beard. All week he drove city buses, steering his way through traffic and strangers' problems. Out there, people barely looked at him. In here, no one looked at him at all. On the table sat his usual order: beef stew, cornbread, black coffee. Across from him, the other side of the booth was set the same way. 2 plates, 2 napkins, 2 sets of silverware. One place for him. One place for the woman he still spoke to in his head. Naomi had been gone 5 years now. One ordinary afternoon in their kitchen, a sudden collapse, sirens, and then that cold hospital sentence. There was nothing more they could do. Marcus still felt that day like a bruise under the skin. "Evening, Marcus," called Laverne, the waitress, as she topped off his mug. "Hey, Miss Laverne," he said, "you sticking with the stew?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "She always did," he replied. Laverne's eyes slid to the empty setting. She nodded once, gentle, like she was greeting someone only he could see. "You let me know if you need anything," she said, and left him to the quiet. Marcus ate slowly. The stew was good, but most of the taste got lost on the way down. His fingers moved now and then to the pale groove on his ring finger, rubbing the place where gold used to be. Outside, rain drummed on the windows. A couple at the counter paid and left, taking their small talk with them. The cafe settled into a soft hush, broken only by the hiss of the grill and the clink of dishes in the back. Marcus was lifting another spoonful when the bell over the door chimed. Cold air rushed in, making the napkin by the empty plate flutter. He looked up. A woman stood just inside the doorway holding the hand of a little boy. They were soaked through. Her thin coat clung to her shoulders. Wet strands of light brown hair stuck to her forehead. The boy's sneakers squished when he shifted his feet, his socks already the gray of dirty snow. His small hand was wrapped so tight in hers that his knuckles were white. For a long second they just stood there, blinking into the warm light as if they weren't sure they belonged in it. Marcus knew that look. He'd seen it on people counting coins at gas stations and on riders who stayed on his bus for 3 full loops because the heat was free. It was the look of someone measuring hope against the fear of being turned away. The woman's gaze drifted over the cafe, empty booths, the counter, the "please wait to be seated" sign no one obeyed. Her eyes slid past Marcus, then slowly came back. 2 plates. 1 man. She swallowed, squeezed the boy's hand, and walked toward his table like each step cost her something. "Excuse me, sir?" Her voice was soft and rough at the same time, like it had been worn thin by too many apologies. Marcus set his spoon down and looked up. "Yes, ma'am," he said. I'm sorry to bother you." Her eyes flicked to the untouched plate across from him, then jumped away as if she'd stared at something private. "My son hasn't had a real meal today. We don't have much money, but the clerk at the station said folks sometimes sit in here just to warm up." She twisted the edge of her sleeve in her fingers. "If we're in the way, we can go." The boy peered around her coat. His eyes were pale blue, big and serious in his thin face. "Hi," he whispered. His stomach growled, loud in the quiet room. Color rushed into the woman's cheeks. She started to say something, then stopped, pressing her lips together. Something in Marcus's chest pulled tight. In his mind, he saw his daughter, Kim, at 7, cheeks still round, braids lopsided, asking if they could share their dinner with the old man across the hall. He heard Naomi's laugh in this very booth, years back, when she slid over to make room for a stranger. "Baby," she had told him then, "if we've got room at the table, we've got room for one more." The memory came so clear it felt like a nudge from that empty seat. Marcus took a breath. "You're not in the way," he said. His voice came out low and steady. He reached out and slid the unused plate and cup toward the wall, opening a wide space across from him. "Why don't you two sit a bit? It's warm here." The woman blinked. "Oh, we couldn't," she said quickly. "You don't even know us. We're just passing through town." "You already told me the important part," Marcus replied. He glanced at the boy. "You told me he hasn't eaten." The boy looked up at his mother, hope and worry fighting in his eyes. "Mom," he whispered. She hesitated, shoulders drawn up like she was bracing for a hit that might not come. Laverne had drifted closer, watching from a few steps away, coffee pot cradled in her hand, saying nothing. Marcus nodded toward the booth. "Ma'am," he said gently, "this chair's been empty a long time. Let him be the one sitting there tonight." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the boy let go of her hand. The boy slid into the booth before his mother could protest. The seat hissed beneath him, wet from his jeans. He grinned at the sound. For the first time that night, he looked like a kid instead of a worry. The woman hesitated a moment longer, clutching the strap of her worn purse. Then, with a soft sigh that seemed to let go of a week's worth of fear, she sat down across from Marcus. "Thank you," she murmured. "We won't stay long." "No rush," Marcus said. "You two take your time." Laverne appeared with her coffee pot and a small smile. "Can I get you something warm, honey?" The woman blinked as if she hadn't heard kindness in a while. "Oh, we don't—" "It's on me," Marcus interrupted. Her mouth opened in protest, but Laverne was already scribbling. "2 bowls of chicken noodle," she said, "and 1 hot chocolate for the young man." The boy's eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. "With marshmallows?" Laverne winked. "I'll see what I can do." When she left, the woman rubbed her hands together, trying to bring color back to her fingers. "I'm sorry," she said. "We didn't mean to trouble anyone." Marcus shook his head. "Doesn't feel like trouble to me." She gave a small, nervous laugh. "That's what people say right before they change their minds." He smiled, just barely. "I don't change mine easy." A silence settled between them, comfortable and new. The boy swung his legs under the table. "I'm Joey," he said. Marcus leaned forward. "Nice to meet you, Joey. I'm Marcus." The boy looked at his mom. "You can tell him your name, Mom." She smiled, embarrassed. Rachel Brooks. Glad to meet you both." The food came fast. Laverne set down steaming bowls of soup, 2 plates of bread, and a cup of cocoa topped with tiny marshmallows. The smell of chicken and thyme filled the booth. Rachel's hands shook a little when she picked up the spoon. She tried to eat slowly, but Marcus could see the hunger in every motion. Joey didn't even pretend. He ate with both hands, slurping, grinning, laughing at nothing in particular. For a moment, Marcus forgot the rain outside, the clock ticking, the ache in his chest. It felt alive again. Rachel dabbed her mouth with the napkin, embarrassed. "You have no idea what this means." Marcus shrugged. "Looks like dinner to me." She smiled, a real one this time, small but steady. "To us it's more than that." Marcus didn't press. He could see the exhaustion in the lines under her eyes, the weariness of someone running from too many yesterdays. When Joey paused to sip his cocoa, Marcus asked softly, "You two got somewhere to stay tonight?" Rachel hesitated. "We'll figure it out." "That usually means no," Marcus said. She lowered her eyes. "There's a shelter across town. If they still have space." Marcus nodded slowly. He knew that place. He'd dropped off coats there before. It was crowded, loud, and not always safe. Joey licked chocolate from his fingers. "This is the best soup ever," he said, his voice muffled by a grin. Rachel smiled again, but this time Marcus noticed the tears glinting behind it. "Been a long week," she said. "Car broke down on the interstate. Lost my job last month. Been trying to get to my sister's place in Indiana, but—" She stopped, shaking her head. "Gas money ran out before we did." Marcus leaned back. "You got family here?" "No, just the highway and a prayer." Laverne stopped by with a refill. "More coffee?" Marcus nodded. "For both of us." Rachel started to protest again, but Laverne cut her off with a look that only women who've lived long enough to stop asking permission can give. "You eat," she said. "Let him be kind." When she walked away, Rachel stared into her cup. "You don't even know me. Why help?" Marcus looked at the empty seat beside him. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it either." She followed his gaze to the place setting. "Your wife?" He nodded once. "Naomi. I'm sorry," she whispered. "Yeah," he said softly. "Me too." For a moment neither spoke. The sound of the rain faded into a steady hum against the glass. Then Joey leaned forward, resting his chin on his hands. "Mr. Marcus?" "Yeah, buddy?" "You look sad sometimes," Marcus chuckled. "That obvious, huh?" "Yeah, but you're nice, so it's okay." Rachel looked mortified. "Joey, no, he's right," Marcus said. "Sad and nice can live in the same house." The boy nodded like it made perfect sense. Rachel whispered, "Thank you." "For seeing us," Marcus smiled faintly. "Maybe I needed to." Outside, the storm was dying down. Streetlights reflected off wet pavement like tiny mirrors. Inside the diner, warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. Laverne brought a small plate of pie without asking. Apple, flaky, golden. Marcus pushed it toward Rachel. "You might as well finish the story right." "Dessert's part of the deal," she laughed softly. "We really don't deserve this." "Sure you do," Marcus said. "Everybody deserves one night where the world doesn't feel like it's against them." Joey took a bite and closed his eyes. "Tastes like Christmas," he said. Rachel smiled at him, then at Marcus. "It's been a long time since we had Christmas." "Then start tonight," Marcus said quietly. They ate in peaceful silence. The kind that only comes when bellies and hearts both start to feel full again. When the check came, Marcus slid his card across before she could say a word. "Please don't." "Already did," he said. Rachel's eyes filled again. "We'll pay you back someday." Marcus shook his head. "You already did," she frowned. "How?" "You reminded me what it feels like to share a table again." For a moment, Rachel didn't speak. Then she reached across the table, laid her hand gently over his and said, "Thank you." Her hand was cold, but her touch was steady. Marcus smiled. "Don't thank me yet." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small set of keys and placed them on the table. Rachel blinked. "What's that?" "A place to sleep," he said simply. Her breath caught. "You can't be serious." "I am," he said. "It's my old apartment. Been sitting empty for months. It's warm, it's clean, and the heat's paid up. You'd be doing me a favor keeping it alive." Rachel shook her head. "Marcus, we can't—" "You can," he said. "And you will. That boy needs a bed, not a back seat." Her eyes searched his face, looking for a catch, a reason to doubt. But there wasn't one. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that?" Marcus looked at Joey, then back at her. "Because someone once did it for me." Marcus led them out into the cold, the air crisp with leftover rain. The storm had passed, but the streets still glistened under the amber glow of the lamps. Joey walked between them, his small hand clutching his mom's coat, the other holding a leftover napkin-wrapped piece of cornbread. They reached Marcus's pickup, a dented blue Chevy that looked older than Joey but sounded strong when it started. Rachel climbed in slowly, holding the boy close. She kept glancing at Marcus like she couldn't decide if he was a miracle or a mistake. "It's not much," Marcus said as they drove. "One bedroom, old furniture, but it's safe." Rachel nodded, staring out the window. "Safe sounds like heaven right now." They rode in silence for a while, the windshield wipers squeaking across the glass. Streetlights passed like slow blinks of time. "Joey," Marcus said, "what's your favorite subject in school?" "Reading," the boy said. "But I haven't gone in a while." Rachel looked down, ashamed. "We've been moving around a lot." Marcus nodded. "That's okay. You'll get back to it. You're a smart kid." "I can tell," Joey grinned. "You sound like my mom." Rachel smiled faintly. "He's always saying that," Marcus chuckled. "Maybe your mom's right more often than you think." When they pulled up in front of the small brick building on Sycamore Street, the night was quiet. The only sound was the soft tick of the truck's engine cooling down. Marcus turned off the ignition and reached for the keys he'd left on the dashboard. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you two inside." The hallway smelled faintly of old wood and laundry soap. Marcus flipped a switch and the stairwell filled with yellow light. The building was tired but clean, the kind of place that had seen both laughter and loss. They climbed to the second floor. Marcus stopped at a green door with a brass 3B on it. He hesitated for a moment before sliding the key in. "I haven't been here in a while," he said. "So, don't judge the dust." The door creaked open. Inside was a small apartment. One bedroom, a worn sofa, a square kitchen table with 2 chairs. Curtains hung crooked on the window, but the radiator was already humming with warmth. Rachel stood still in the doorway, as if afraid that stepping inside might break the spell. Joey ran past her and stopped in the middle of the room. "Mom," he whispered. "There's a couch," Marcus smiled. "Even got blankets in the closet." Rachel turned to him. "You really want us to stay here?" "I do, but why?" He looked around the room. The faded family photo still on the wall, the marks where a child's height had once been measured in pencil. "Because I couldn't let it go," he said quietly. "It was our first place, Naomi and me. Before the house, before everything. I used to think letting it sit empty was my way of holding on, but maybe it's been waiting for something else." Rachel blinked back tears. "You don't owe us this." Marcus met her eyes. "I don't owe you. I'm offering it. There's a difference." Joey had already found the heater and held his hands above it, grinning at the warmth. "It's like summer in here." Rachel laughed softly, a sound Marcus hadn't heard from her before. Light, musical, alive. "I don't know what to say," she murmured. "Say you'll take it," he replied. She nodded, still overwhelmed. "We'll take it." Marcus showed her where everything was. The bathroom light that flickered, the cupboard with canned soup and crackers, the switch that sometimes stuck. When he opened the fridge, a photo on the door caught Rachel's eye. It was of a young black woman in a nurse's uniform, smiling at the camera, a hospital badge clipped to her scrubs. "Your wife?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Yeah, that's Naomi." Rachel stepped closer, studying the picture. "She looks kind." "She was," Marcus said. "The kind of person who saw people even when the rest of the world looked right past them." Rachel's hand went to her mouth. "What hospital did she work at?" "County General, downtown." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she turned to him, trembling. 10 years ago. My mom had a stroke. We were visiting family and they took her to County General. I was 19, terrified. There was a nurse who sat with me the whole night. She held my hand, told me what was happening, even after her shift ended." Marcus froze. "She told me her name was Naomi," Rachel whispered. "Naomi Reed." He stared at her, the air suddenly thick and still. "She came home that night," he said quietly. "Told me about a girl who'd just lost her mother. Said she couldn't leave her alone." Tears welled in Rachel's eyes. "That was me." Marcus felt his throat close. "Then I guess we were meant to find each other." Rachel wiped her cheeks. "She helped me through the worst night of my life. And now He shook his head. That's Naomi, still doing her work. Just through me. They stood in silence, the room glowing in the soft hum of the radiator. Joey's voice broke the stillness. Mom, can I sleep on the couch? Rachel laughed through her tears. Yes, baby. You can, Marcus smiled. There's extra blankets in the drawer. Take what you need, Rachel turned to him, her eyes full of gratitude and something deeper. Something like faith returning after a long absence. I don't know how to thank you, she whispered. You already did, he said. Just by being here. He moved toward the door. I'll check on you tomorrow. Bring some groceries, Marcus. He stopped. Thank you, she said again. For seeing us. For everything. Marcus gave a small nod. You're welcome, Rachel. Outside, snow had started to fall, slow, quiet flakes catching in the streetlights. Marcus stood for a moment on the stoop, looking up. For the first time in 5 years, the world didn't feel empty. It felt like Naomi was smiling somewhere above. Proud. He pulled out his phone and typed a message to his daughter. Come home this weekend. I'm ready. Then he slipped the phone into his pocket and walked into the night, the snow whispering beneath his boots. Winter gave way to spring, slow and soft, the way it always does when people start to heal. The snow melted from the roofs, and the Cedar Street Cafe opened its windows again. Marcus found himself smiling more, talking more. The ache in his chest was still there, but it had turned into something gentler, like a memory that had learned to breathe. Every morning, Rachel walked to the corner bakery at dawn. She'd taken the job Marcus found for her, washing pans, rolling dough, learning the rhythm of early mornings. The owner, a kind man named Miguel, told Marcus one afternoon, Your friend's a keeper. Hardest worker I've ever had. Always first to clock in, last to leave. Marcus had just nodded, pretending not to be proud. Rachel saved what she could, dollar by dollar, tip by tip. Joey started second grade at the local school. Marcus's daughter, Kim, had come home, curious to meet the mystery family her dad kept talking about. The day they met, Joey offered her a peanut butter sandwich and said, Want to build a fort? 10 minutes later, the living room was full of blankets, laughter, and the sound of 2 kids deciding they were best friends. That night, Marcus stood in the doorway, watching them draw superheroes at the kitchen table. One with brown skin and a bus driver's jacket, the other with a flour-dusted apron and a big grin. He didn't say a word, just let the sight soak into his soul. Tuesday nights became their thing. Sometimes Rachel cooked, sometimes Marcus did. They'd all sit together, 4 plates this time, talking about school, the bakery, the buses, the small things that built life back piece by piece. But not everyone in town saw it that way. Mrs. Green from next door was the first to whisper. Saw that Reed fellow spending a lot of time with that young woman, she told her friend at the hair salon. Poor man's still grieving. I hope she's not taking advantage. The words spread like spilled coffee, quiet but staining everything they touched. At Hayes Auto, one of Marcus's regulars leaned on the counter. Hey, heard you got company these days, he said, smirking. Marcus kept wiping his hands on a rag. Guess word travels fast. Just saying, man, be careful. Some folks see kindness as weakness. Marcus set the rag down and looked him straight in the eye. Some folks mistake gossip for wisdom, he said evenly. Don't be one of them. The man mumbled an apology and left. That night, Marcus told Rachel about it. She froze, a dish still in her hands. Maybe we should stop having dinners, she said. People are talking. Let them, Marcus said, but your reputation. He laughed softly. You know what my reputation was before you showed up? The sad guy who eats alone every night. I think I'll take the upgrade. Rachel smiled, a little uncertain, but grateful. Over the next few weeks, things began to shift. Miguel started telling everyone how proud he was of his new hire. The principal at Joey's school sent home a note that said, Joey is kind, patient, and helps others without being asked. And at church, when Mrs. Green saw Rachel leading a bake sale to raise money for the local shelter, even she had to admit, well, maybe that woman's got a good heart after all. By summer, Rachel had saved enough to buy a small commercial oven. Marcus helped her set it up in the old garage behind his house. They painted the walls bright yellow and built shelves from leftover lumber. Joey made a cardboard sign that read, Rachel's Table. Fresh baked and kindness served warm. Every Saturday, they set out cookies, pies, and muffins for sale at the farmer's market. But Rachel always kept one tray aside, a plate marked, Pay what you can. One afternoon, an elderly man in a worn coat stopped by. How much for the cherry pie? He asked, his voice trembling. Rachel studied him. His shoes were cracked, his hands shaking slightly. For you, she said softly. No charge. Oh, I couldn't take charity. It's not charity, she replied. It's gratitude. Someone once fed me when I couldn't pay. I'm just keeping the story going. The man's eyes filled. You're an angel, Rachel smiled. No, just human. From the edge of the booth, Marcus watched quietly, pride swelling in his chest. He didn't interrupt. He didn't need to. This, the warmth, the laughter, the smell of fresh bread, was the life Naomi would have wanted him to keep building. And in that old apartment on Sycamore Street, where grief had once lived like a permanent tenant, there was now music, light, and a boy's laughter echoing off the walls. Marcus still stopped by the cafe sometimes, sitting in the same booth where it had all begun. 2 plates, 2 cups. Only now, the second one wasn't empty anymore. By December, the first snow returned, soft and quiet, falling like a secret. Cedar Street twinkled with string lights, and every shop window had paper stars taped to the glass. The sign above the old garage now read, Rachel's Table. Warm meals, warm hearts. The name had changed, but the spirit hadn't. Inside, ovens glowed. The smell of cinnamon, roasted turkey, and fresh bread drifted into the street. Marcus stood near the counter, rolling up his sleeves. Rachel was busy stirring gravy. Joey and Kim ran between tables, hanging hand-cut snowflakes on every chair. It was Christmas Eve, and they were hosting their first community dinner, free for anyone who needed it. The homeless, the lonely, the folks who just couldn't face an empty kitchen. The room filled fast. Old men in worn coats, single mothers, a young veteran still wearing his fatigue jacket. The air hummed with chatter and clinking silverware. Rachel looked around, her heart full. Can you believe this? Marcus smiled. Naomi would have loved it. Rachel turned toward him, her eyes soft. You still talk to her sometimes, don't you? He nodded. Every day. Mostly to say thank you. Later, when everyone was seated, Rachel stood at the front. Her hands trembled just a little as she spoke. Last year, on a night just like this, I walked into a diner with nothing left but hope, and even that was running low. My boy and I were cold, hungry, and lost. She looked at Marcus, and a stranger offered us a seat. He didn't ask questions. He just said, no one should eat alone. The crowd fell silent. She smiled through tears. Tonight, we wanted to do the same for all of you. Because everyone deserves a warm meal and a place where they're seen. Applause rippled through the room. Marcus stepped up beside her. He cleared his throat, his deep voice filling the space. My wife used to say kindness is like light. It travels farther than you can see. You pass it on, and it keeps going. He paused, emotion catching in his throat. Rachel reminded me that's true. She didn't just find help that night. She gave it back tenfold. She made this place what it is. Another round of applause rose, louder this time. Rachel brushed her tears away, laughing. All right, enough speeches. Let's eat before the pie gets cold. Laughter followed her words, warm and easy. They served turkey and mashed potatoes, hot soup, and apple pie. People told stories, sang songs, even shared recipes. Marcus caught himself smiling at everything. The noise, the life, the way the building seemed to glow from the inside out. At one table, an old woman whispered a prayer over her meal. At another, a little girl giggled as Joey made faces with mashed potatoes. Kim handed out cookies like they were currency. And for the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel the weight of empty space beside him. He felt full. Not with food, but with belonging. After everyone had gone, the lights dimmed. Rachel and Marcus cleaned quietly while the kids dozed on the couch, curled together under one blanket. Rachel wiped her hands on a towel. "You realize what you started, right?" Marcus chuckled. "Pretty sure you're the one running the show now." She stepped closer. "You pulled out a chair that night. That one small act turned into all of this." He met her eyes. "Guess Naomi was right. Kindness does make a chain." They stood there for a long moment. The kind that didn't need words. Rachel looked toward the frosted window. "Do you think she knows?" "Your wife?" Marcus followed her gaze, watching snow fall under the streetlight. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I think she's smiling." Rachel leaned her head gently against his shoulder. He didn't move away. Outside, snow kept falling, soft, endless, forgiving. Inside, the warmth lingered, golden and alive. The sign over the door glowed against the night. Rachel's table. Warm meals. Warm hearts. And in that small town where strangers had once sat alone, there was now a family. One made not by blood, but by kindness. A man who found hope again. A woman who found safety. Two kids who learned that love could grow from something as simple as sharing soup on a cold night. Because sometimes the table we set for loneliness ends up feeding love instead. And the chairs we thought would stay empty forever fill up with laughter, with second chances, with the kind of warmth that never goes cold.